Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lights on Data show. My name is George.
And I'm Deanna.
And in this episode, we are dedicating it to really shining a light on the remarkable contributions of women in data.
Woohoo!
Yes. And our aim is to share the diverse insights and experiences and stories that inspire and empower you, our audience. And for that, we have some wonderful guests with us today. In no particular order, we have Olga Majdanchik, Natalia Kotova, Nicola Askam, and Susan Walsh, the classification guru. I feel like I always need to add that after your name, Susan.
I like
People
it. I
know.
trained you well.
I love it.
Well, welcome so much on the Lights on Day show. We're very honored to be here with us today and to celebrate International Women's Day, March 8th.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome. Now, can we start with a quick round of introductions? And if you don't mind, Olga, I'll put you on the spot first.
Hi, guys. My name is Olga Majdanchik, and I am the everything about data. Love the thing and know the thing. My sweet spots are data quality, metadata management, modeling, and master data management. And I've been there for a long time, and I'm excited to see that the whole industry is moving forward. I'm just hoping that it's going to continue to do it the same way.
And Olga, I don't think you noticed, but one of my first acquaintances with you is I took one of your courses years ago, maybe 15 or so years ago, as part of the Certificate of Information Management Professionals. And you had a couple of courses there on data quality, and you left a mark on me and on my learning since then.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, fun facts. And next we have Nicola Askam.
Hi, yes, I'm Nicola Askim. I'm known as the data governance coach, and I've been doing data governance for 21 years, so very much like Olga, a very long time now. I did dabble in master data management and data quality, but I found data governance to be my thing. I love doing, and so I spend most of my time training and coaching people how to do data governance successfully these days.
And you put a lot of great content out there for people in the newsletter and all the videos that you do. And thank you so much for making data governance cool.
Oh, thank you, George. You do a lot as well. So it's a bit of a mutual appreciation society. But yes, I think you do a lot in that field as well.
Thank you. Natalia.
Hi. So, first of all, thank you, George, for inviting me finally to this Lights on Data show. Such an honor to be here and pleasure, of course. Me personally, I don't work honestly directly with data myself, but what I do is actually I'm putting together the data people together via our events. So perhaps you heard about it. It's Data Management Marathon, Data Think Lab. So we do it globally and physically as well in Berlin and actually this year in Prague. Yeah, I'm passionate about data, but I'm not doing data itself myself.
And you do have so many intersections with the data professionals, and I think you're learning a lot and really seeing how everything really connects and all the different areas. And you and Pio and the team do amazing events. What edition is it this year for the data management?
Will be ninth
Wow.
Think Lab, but in October it will be our anniversary actually event. So we will do something special in October in Prague.
Looking forward
Hopefully
to learning more
see you
about
all
it.
Here.
I hope so.
Sounds good.
And Susan Walsh, the classification guru.
Hello, a bit of a rough-looking Susan Walsh, the classification guru today. She's been out exhibiting this week and picked up a bug, but hi everybody. I'm known as the fixer of dirty data. I'm a specialist in spend data classification and data cleaning. I've been doing that for about 12 years now and had my business for nearly 7. Yeah, and we work with clients all over the world to help them have better visibility and better data.
Yeah, and we all appreciate you for it and the spotlight that you're putting on the importance of the good data quality, really.
Yeah, I'm trying to make something fun of a pretty dry topic.
I love the lip
You do
syncs.
amazing. I do want to ask some of you if you can really share a brief overview of your journey in the data industry and what really initially drew you into this field. And I wanted to ask this question because I found that each one of you really had a very different story on it. And I think there's no traditional path in a way. And I would like to ask that question to some of you so that our audience can be inspired that they can each carve their own path And Susan, if you don't mind, I'll put you on the spot first.
Yeah, I've got a pretty wild story. So I started my career in sales and account management, and then I decided to open up a women's clothes shop, and that failed so bad, and I racked up so much debt that I couldn't even afford to go bankrupt. I had to save up. I was so desperate for a job. I found an ad online to go and work for a spend analytics company classifying spend data, and that is literally how I fell into it. I had no idea that I would be really good at it and really love it, and so thankful that my business failed so that I did find my true love in life. Yeah.
That's amazing. And yeah, I know there's so much more to it as well, but you're such an inspiration. And I think every single day you're showing how this passion that you have for data and the hard work and all the creativity that you put in really pays off. And
Thank you. I think
yeah,
for me, I couldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it and love it and have fun. And also sheer stubbornness and determination to actually not fail as well is a big driver.
And we have quite a few people in the audience. Hi, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Lights on Data show. I don't know if do you know Ed Wolf? I wonder if he's a fellow countryman of yours, because he's saying that your English is very good. Was wondering if he's a Scottish fellow or not.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, after living down south, as they say, for 20 years, I'd hope that I'd caught the lingo.
I want to also hear from Nicola, who I also envy her accent. I must.
I don't know why. I think, like Susan, I got into data by accident. I wish it had been, I had this epiphany and realized that data was amazing. But I worked for a massive bank in the UK for many years, doing the career path they said to do next. And then along came job advertising internally. And I fancied myself as a bit of an organizer and sorting things out. So I applied for a project manager role, and I got that. And it was implementing a new data warehouse. And I had no idea what one was. With the benefit of hindsight, it was really embarrassing, because if somebody had told me it was a warehouse full of bits of paper, I would have believed them at that point. And I actually had the Warehousing for Dummies book on my desk for quite a few months. But we were a fabulous team, and I still keep in touch with some of them. We were all young and enthusiastic, and we designed the new data warehouse model, and we migrated the data from the old data warehouse over to test it. And we noticed that some of the data was missing or obviously rubbish. So we fixed it, because we were really all good eggs like that. And then I was a very young, naive, inexperienced project manager. And I went to finance and said, shiny new reports, can you sign them off, please? And he went, no, they're different. And I'm going, I know, but the numbers are better now, because the data's better. And you know what finance is like? Everything has to be the same. And if you change a number, it has to be reconcilable, and they have to prove what happened. And I was absolutely gutted. We thought we'd solved a problem, and he didn't want the problem solved. and it really bugged me. And I started talking to my boss about who should care about the quality of data in the data warehouse. And I was actually a project manager attached to the data management team. So she went, shut up, Nicola, not your job, just get the data warehouse delivered. So did loads more projects around the data warehouse and master data management. And then I got into work one day and said, you can't do that anymore. There's been a restructure. And I went, oh no, because I really thought I'd found my thing then. I love this, sorting things out, a sense of order and a planning. And she said, tough, you can't do that. All the project managers have been sucked into a central pool called change management. I went, okay, I'm going there then. She goes, no, we don't want to lose you from the data management team. And I was a bit worried, because about 80% of the data management of that team was the business intelligence one. And I did my SQL training, and I passed the course, got my certificate. And then I tried to write my first ever SQL code. And I accidentally did a Cartesian join. I joined every table to every table in the data warehouse, ground it to an absolute halt, at which point the DBAs rung up and were very rude. This had been like a year or two before this had happened. And so I'm thinking to my boss, I can't join that part of the team, because this was way before fancy tools to help you get business intelligence insights out. And I think, what do I do? And she said, I don't know, but for heaven's sake, make yourself look busy, because we've escalated this all the way up to the HR director to keep you here. And I just was racking my brains for what could I do? And it was still niggling me that people didn't care about the quality of data, and they'd messed up the data in my data warehouse, because I was a bit possessive about it. And so I said to her, can I go and sort out who should care about data? And I think she rolled her eyes and went, you're not still going on about that, are you? And just went, okay, just don't upset any senior stakeholders. I can't promise I didn't do that, but I don't think I upset them enough that they went and told her. But they may have asked me to leave their offices or meetings and not to distract them with my silly little data thing. But thankfully I'm stubborn and I didn't give up. But yeah, so that's totally unintentionally, but I really did find my thing that time. And yeah, I'm glad I did. I don't
Wow,
intend to
what a
do it
story.
now.
What a story. And I think a lot of people can actually relate to at least parts of it. Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
You're
Natalia,
welcome.
how did you get into this world of data and really organizing events that would target data professionals?
Thank you, George. Again, my background is not the data, so my background was in marketing and project management. And I started my career around 10 years ago in one of the largest event organizers company. So we were doing around like thousands of events every year and different topics. And then one day, one of my colleagues actually decided to open his own initiatives and actually dedicate the time, and specifically in the particular topic of data management. So it was Pio, and he opened his company of the pink linkers. And you can see by the time, as a matter of fact, he was right. Actually, data management is a crucial topic, and it became with the time even more important. And every company needs to obviously improve their data in order to have a better reputation and better clients, customer service.
Awesome. And we're all very grateful for that journey because we're all benefiting from it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So to me, this is the juiciest and most insightful question that I want to ask you, ladies. So you've done and you've achieved a lot in the data field. And as we know, this is a field that is most dominated by men. So it's potentially a field that it's a little bit harder to get into than others for us women. But you've done so amazingly, right? So you're role models for other women in this area. So the question that we wanted to ask you is, what challenges have you faced in getting into this field, and how were you able to overcome them? And maybe we can start with Olga.
When I started, and I still vividly remember somewhere after 2008 or 9, I worked for the Citibank, which is a very big organization. And it was pretty much men's world. So there would be like 2 or 3 women sitting down. And I was fortunate enough that all of us are really supported each other, right? And I believe one of the challenge and how you can overcome is to find the other woman who supports you, who have your back, and that's the most important thing. Nowadays it's much better. The higher you go, it used to be just men's. Now it's actually, you see quite a few women. One thing that I did notice, that even on LinkedIn, where all of us met, every time if I post something or I look at the other post, 90% of people who are responding to the posts are men. So I'm trying to encourage other women that, hey, you have to post it. Sometimes I look at, okay, what do guys think about this problem? And women are not, I'm sure they're thinking, but they are not sharing the thoughts. And when you ask the guy, what do you have an opinion about something? Of course I have an opinion. So this is like a hard thing. Just get out there and just do it. And don't take it personally. Yes, you will be somehow ridiculed for your thoughts. So you will be told that you're completely wrong and you will have self-doubts and everything. But you know what? It's okay. Just move on. And as I said, find someone who supports you no matter what. Even if you screw up, find who will do that for you.
Good advice. I see Nicola shaking her head a few times.
Nodding.
Nodding, yes, nodding.
I've been really lucky. I was asked on a Women in Data panel last year about the challenges in my career. And I said, actually, I've been really lucky. I joined that very first data management team, and they were 80% women. My boss was a woman, so I don't know whether she was deliberately recruiting more women to the team, but it was a very diverse team, more women than men. And that was the first time that had happened to me in my career. I spent a long time in corporate banking where if you weren't a secretary, you were probably male. And so I got used to that. I also went to an all-girls school where they brainwashed us that you could do whatever you like. So tend to be very stubborn and just think, well, I don't care that you say I shouldn't be here. I will just do this. So I think I was very lucky from that. But I do see it happening a lot elsewhere. It wasn't until I left the bank and joined a consultancy that I realized I was almost back in corporate banking world of there being very few women in the consultancies that I worked in. So I think I've always tried to encourage people. And I think I think what you're saying, what Olga was saying was so right, because it's about you have to support and help people. And I belong to the UK chapter of DARMA, the Data Management Association. And for many years, I was on the board there. And I think associations like that and networking groups. I helped run a data governance networking group with a team of mainly ladies, actually. We only have one man on the team, and that wasn't intentional. But I think it is that you need to support each other. And I think I smiled when you were saying something, Olga, because I was told years ago by a mentor in the bank, long before I got into data, that if there's a job advert, there's been some research. And if a man can do 40% of it, he says, oh, great, I'm going for it. And they put their application in. And a female kind of says, oh, I can only do 80%. Perhaps I'll wait until I can do the other 20%. And next time the job comes up, I'll go for it. And I think that's probably the same with the commenting on LinkedIn posts that you were saying, Olga, is that somebody's probably, I think we want to feel 100% confident in our answers before we dive in. And you should see some of the answers people put. They're not confident and they're not always right. And so I think you've got nothing to lose. You should just go out there and get experience and talk. So yeah, I really like you'll get something to support you. And I think if you comment on any of all of our posts, we'll support you and comment back.
Yeah,
because we appreciate it.
I just want to echo something you said, Nicola, because you were saying that you were lucky, but at the same time, when you talked about your journey, you told us a lot about the challenges that you faced and the barriers. So I think it's also a matter of perspective. Your perspective is, what, I was lucky. I was able to overcome these. And maybe to me, that is what I take away, is that no matter what comes your way, you work through it and you get it, you become a winner afterwards, right? No matter what the outcome is. So I think that is, to me at least, very inspiring.
I think the secret ingredient is self-belief, because so many people have told me, don't do this, don't do that, this won't work. And I believed it could. And so I did it. And I think if you are truly confident in your abilities, you just forge through and balls to them all. That's what I say. Do it. Yeah.
Susan, what about you? Because in the work that you do, you intersect a lot with the supply chain, with the procurement industries as well.
Yeah, actually, one more thing. Like, I think a lot of women are afraid to fail, and you have to just embrace failure, because that you learn so much from it. It's not a mark of, it's not a bad thing, failure. It's a good thing. And I think we have to talk about that a little bit more too. But yeah, no, I do. I cross over like probably 3 different places where it's unusual to be a woman. So a woman business owner, a woman in data, and also just a woman in procurement as well, and procurement data at that. So I've been patronized. I've had so many men tell me how to run my business and what I should and shouldn't be doing. Oh. And I've listened to none of them, and I'm still here. Guess what? Surprise! Yeah, I've just always done what felt right for me and what I was comfortable with. And that's always stayed good. What's the word? See, my head's fuzzy. But it's always worked for me.
That's good to hear.
There's 2 quotes, I think, talking about just that I thought about when Susan was talking about failure. So one of them is, failure is an invitation to continue. And then the second one is, everything is a trial.
Yeah.
Basically, you never know how successful or how not successful something is going to be. Just do it, basically, and you'll find out afterwards, and it's going to teach you things either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Natalia, what about you?
Coming back to the question, probably the original question about the challenges, right?
Yeah.
So if we are discussing about the data field, exactly data field, right? So let's say, based on my experience 7 years ago, when I was creating the events, panel discussions and presentations, I have to say there was like a big challenge for me to find women to actually speak. So there was approximately 20% women speaking and 80% men speaking. I remember how some of my clients were coming to me back and saying, I don't feel comfortable even to be in the event because I feel like frustrated by the man-dominated environment in here. So I was like, okay, I'm giving it a try, but so I am happy to look at the positive angle of it right now. With after 7 years, I have absolute amazing balance of 50-50, sometimes even more women speaking. And now this year, the women in data is a huge topic, as a panel discussions of our marathons, events. So people are very happy to actually participate in it. And now look at this, I am participating in here. So I'm very happy to see that we are moving forward. And yes, absolutely, to summarize all of it, what we said is definitely do not be scared about speaking up, all right? Take the challenge, like I'm taking the challenge of speaking in here. So yeah.
And we thank you for it.
So express your opinion, express yourself.
Thank you. So everyone, how do you believe that organizations in the data industry in particular can do better to support and empower women to really be in these leadership roles and some technical roles? Do you have any advice for them?
Can I start?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
Just to connect the thought, the thing is that also what I heard a lot from the women in data, that right now the challenge is not being in data itself, right? So it's about actually growing up as a woman in being a leader in the data departments. So that's where actually it stops a little bit of, let's say there is some sort of challenge, right? Then the manager decides to actually take a man rather than a woman when she's 35 plus, because of course, okay, eventually she will become a mom, she will need to go to maternity leave. I think it's rather better to take a man instead. So what I want actually is to have a diversity in this position, and actually giving an opportunity for organizations to give this to a woman to open up, do her job, because she is better maybe than the man in this position. Because afterwards, if you don't give as an option, what happens is this woman will actually feel terrible about coming back to this organization to work for them, because we decided to take instead of her another person, and he's a man.
Right. Thank you.
Sorry, a little bit of too
No,
much.
but it's a very good, no, I think it's a very good point. And I think this is faced by women, not only in data, but everywhere in all the areas. And it is a very good point. So thank you very much for bringing it up. This is the right place.
I just wish people would be judged based on what they do rather than who they are. Like I'm a big believer in prove yourself through your work. And I've worked in organizations where that wasn't enough, and which case that wasn't the right place to be. And then you find somewhere that does value the work you do, and then you will be recognized and do those things. I think changing culture is hard, and if you've got a lot of kind of, I definitely like older generation senior management, it's really hard to change that culture. It takes a lot of time.
For sure. I was talking to this organization that I can't name, but it was a while ago, and they were starting to implement this new hiring practice where they would start looking at the resumes, but without the hiring manager having access to the name of the applicant, so that there's no bias in it, anywhere from the gender to nationality, perhaps, and religion, or maybe other assumptions that we would make based on the name alone. So I thought that was such a fascinating thing, that it would just be based on what you're reading there. It's their history of and the experience, professional experience. So
that reminds me, George, I read about it, I think it was last year, and I can't remember which, but one of the big famous European orchestras a few years back realized that they were predominantly male, but the people, when a place becomes available, it's mainly a panel of male people that are choosing them. So they started introducing a screen, so a musician would play their audition piece behind a screen, so nobody knew, and a lot more women were then chosen because they were chosen purely on talent and no preconceived ideas about who they were looking at and their appearance and everything, which I thought was amazing.
I actually have something to address about that. It's exceptionally nice to scrap up the name of the resume. However, majority of job conversation starts with actually HR person calling you and learning about you. So
Right.
once you have a conversation, it is obvious that you're a woman, and whatever note she is writing down, she is passing to the hiring manager. However, in terms of what organization could do, I think probably 50% or maybe like 40% of organizations, especially on the East Coast in the United States, started publishing the pay scale together with the job description. And I believe that's exceptionally important because as a woman who worked in many different organizations, I just know for sure that men are getting paid for the same job more than women. Now, even now, when some of the organizations are publishing the range, all of a sudden, when woman is taking a job, I read the statistics that 80% of women don't negotiate the pay, and 80% of men actually do negotiate the pay. So even once you are in this range, published range, the woman is still thinking, okay, I'm not good enough. What you, Nicola, said, right? That I'm not going to do this. I only know 80%. I'm not good enough to get on a higher scale. So it's a win situation, but I do believe that from HR standpoint, human resources should actually help women to get more money because we are the same. If not
And
better.
the irony is most HR professionals are women, unless you get to senior level, and then suddenly a man has appeared.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's really hard because I generally think that everybody needs career advice and support. But I think it's different. I don't think just because you're a man, you don't need career support and advice. But I do think perhaps we need help in different ways. And I remember many years ago, Lloyds Bank introduced the Women's Network, and I refused to go because I thought it was going to be full of women standing up feeling sorry for themselves. And so I didn't go. And then my boss got into trouble because I was his only female direct line report. And his boss felt that he was not allowing me to go. And so we had this ongoing argument for about a month, whereas in the end I went, I'll go if you want me to. I really don't want to go. And I walked in and this woman stood up and said, it's difficult for us. And I thought, oh, what am I here for? And the only reason I stayed is because I spotted one of my friends in the room. And I hadn't seen her for a while, and I stayed for that session because I was literally, this woman was awful, and she embodied everything that I thought was going to be bad about it. And because I'm a bit like Susan, if I've ever got the job, I want it because I was the best person, not because somebody had a quota to fill. So what we've got to do, so I'm not a fan of quotas, is to make sure that everybody's got that equal chance, that they've been helped to develop themselves. But over time, that network really developed, and they had the most amazing inspirational speakers. So much so that I got to the stage where I kept saying, I felt almost guilty. I felt my male colleagues should be allowed to hear these speakers and advice as well. And I think organizations have got to think about, you can't have one approach to support everybody, and you've got to think about how to develop people and give them support in a way that works for them. I'm not saying that's easy. This is why I'm not an HR person, but it's how can we do that? And I think you've got to think about, how do we support people?
I love it so much. I love it so much because I think it's important to understand that, just as you said, men need support, maybe just in a different way. And I think it's detrimental to all of us if we only reflect or interpret situations from just one point of view, whether it is the male point of view or the female point of view. And I think every situation is different. And yes, absolutely, just as all of you said, it's important to evaluate people by their professional experience and make the decision, if possible, only out of that point of view.
Guys, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to go
poor
'cause I'm
Susan.
dying.
Susan, one last thing before you go. What is your message to the fellow women out there in data?
Don't take any shit. Just like, really, it's like I was saying before, you really have to have self-belief. So I've always focused in on the things that I'm really good at rather than trying to improve on the things that I'm not good at. So I focus on the things I'm really good at and get better at those, and then I'm really confident that I can be the best at what I'm doing. And and not being afraid to fail. Like, it's growth, it's development, it's not a bad thing. Just
Great
go for
message.
it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Susan.
Susan,
Feel better.
get well, and we're so
Thank you.
happy that you made the effort to come here.
Yeah,
and
thanks
be
for
here.
having me
It was
on.
good to
Have fun. Take
Thanks for
care.
being on.
Bye.
Bye.
So to continue that that message that Susan had, what other piece of advice would you share with aspiring women who are considering career in the data industry?
I actually could go. I had a very satisfying career and I always had support. I had terrific bosses. At the beginning, they were all men, but then there were women who I absolutely adore. One important thing to me, don't lie to them and to yourself. And I want to address the point of kids. So I managed to had 2 kids. And one of the requirements in my job when my kids were young, right away, I don't travel international, period. I don't, no matter what it is. Don't take me on a job or whatever. I don't do that because it's hard for me. It's hard for my kids. I also don't travel for more than a week at a time without my kids, period. Take it or leave it. That's one of the important things. Yes, it will set you back in your career because there would be people who will do travel and who will stay later, etc. But one thing I wanted to say, the life is fairly long and kids are growing fast. So one thing I could say, because my kids are pretty much independent now, I would say, you know what, there would be so many years where you are not going to have kids and you could build your terrific career later on. Just enjoy what you want right now. If you want to work in the office, fine. But if you want to be a little bit on the sidelines, but enjoy your kids and have all those memories, it's fine too. Do what you want. And don't lie. If you need to pick up the kids from school, don't come up with the excuses. Just say them, hey, my kid has a tennis tournament or whatever, my 6-year-old. And it's important for me to see the 6-year-old on a tennis tournament. That's it.
And you know what, Olga? More and more of my male colleagues, they have in their schedule picking up kids. And it's visible to everybody. And we respect that. And I think for me, one way that I choose the organizations that I work for is to be able to do that. And if an organization does not support my family life, that's okay. It's not my place. That's fine.
Yeah. Any other
Love it,
advice?
Olga. Love
I was going to say that was very good advice.
Yes.
I would say, I think I would advise anybody to just join a network, whether it's Dharma or something else, because I think we're all very good at having our own doubts and our own voices in the head and the own imposter syndrome. And you all think you're the only person thinking like this. And then you go and meet somebody and you talk to them and you realize that you're not stupid. You're not doing anything wrong. This is just part of the process of it. And I think that actually building that little support network, I've got a little group, and I can't tell you how I know them because otherwise it would probably give you a clue as to who they were. All very senior ladies, but we all have bad days, and we can go in the WhatsApp group and vent about something, and then support each other. And I think you need to build your little support networks like that of people who get data as well, because some of my other school friends, I'm really good friends. I've been friends with them for years. They do not get data. They think what I do is really boring, and they cannot comprehend how data governance could ever be stressful because they don't really understand it. So what you want is to build that little support network, people that you can bounce ideas off of, and realize that this is okay and that they've got your back. I think these are really important.
Love it.
I love it. But we also have Natalia.
Piece of advice for women, right? in data career. So we'll have a more courage starting first of all your career in data. So don't think about the stereotypes that exist over here. Then obviously don't be scared about speaking up. Don't be scared of presenting. For instance, right now, I was saying that I have panel discussion on women in data, and I'm looking for one last lady to join to our data management marathon in June. So if you have a story and you want to share your experience, then reach out to me here on LinkedIn. And I will be happy to, of course, put you in front of our audience, and you can get challenged as much as I challenged myself today. I definitely wouldn't imagine myself 5 years ago doing this and like some data with George, but here I am. So Yeah, don't be scared. So yeah, have more courage. That's my message.
I think that's really excellent advice, Natalia. Definitely go to events like Natalia's, offer to speak for Natalia. Make her life easier anyway, because then she won't have to fancy many people. But I think that is a wonderful way to learn and push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think it's fabulous. You should go to events, but more importantly, present at them. You have got something valuable to
Yeah.
share, even if you think you haven't.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I encourage everybody to participate more in a speaking capacity and be on panels like Natalia was mentioning. Maybe like the panel is a good gateway to enter because the whole
Exactly.
spotlight is not just on you, but you're sharing some of that burden, let's say, with the
Yeah.
others. And especially when you have a great moderator, I know Nicola is, Natalia as well. Things are easier as well. Yeah, it's a good entry point for people.
Yeah, absolutely, George. I totally agree with you. That's my typical advice to like people that are starting their speaking experience. I'm saying go for panel discussion, and then you will go and you will grow. Eventually, you will prepare a case study.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is just take every opportunity, because I've done interviews on my blog for years. I now do interviews with my podcast, and George is going to be on soon, which is really exciting. But I also have people that are just starting out. And I think people want to know that, because they want to know what's this. They want to hear what George has got to say. I hope. I'm sure they do. But they also want to hear about the person who's only been doing their data job a year and what's their perspective. So I think you shouldn't think that you're new into this and you haven't got any value to add.
Yeah, said.
I just wanted to say I'm not 100% in the data field, but what I see from the Lights on Data show and also from George's interactions with the whole data community, I find that the data community is actually extremely supportive. So I love everything that I see, how people interact when we're going to events. People know each other, people will support each other, and it's this sense of community among people who get the data, like Nicola said, and you automatically feel this bond. So I really admire the community that you have built around it. And I think for everybody listening, just go in there because you are going to be welcome and supported by the community. Ladies, maybe our last question of the day. What is one goal that you are currently working on, and how would you like to continue to contribute to the data field in the future? It's a two-part question, that's true.
Yeah, I could start. I was absolutely surprised at the beginning when George said that many years ago he took a class. Integrate to me, that was wow. Anyway, I enjoy teaching because sometimes I think I know so much, and some of the things are actually such an obvious things for me, but apparently many other people won't know how to do it. And in some case, I have to credit my kids because they are not born with the knowledge of tying the shoes, or they are not born with the knowledge how to prepare the eggs or something like that. And I have to explain them in littlest detail. So sometimes I'm just actually explaining things that are, I wouldn't say boring. There are always some kind of iffy situation where it is, but the things that I take for granted, many people I actually don't know it. So I do want to grow our community by educating people more and more, so that they wouldn't have to figure out them for themselves. They would have some resources. And personal goal that I'm working is I want to be less perfect, because as much as I like my classes that I'm creating, after I'm done and recorded everything and did it, sometimes I just scrap the whole chapter and say, no, it wasn't good enough. And I'm redoing it. And yes, the second version is better. And sometimes third one is spectacular, but the fourth one. So one particular thing that I actually want to say to every other perfectionist out there, that the version 1.5 is good enough. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe there are some things that you've done not exactly, but please be with me and don't do what I do.
That speaks to me very well.
Exactly, George. Yes, thank you very much for that. And I think women are perfectionists and want it to be top notch, which we are able to, but it's sometimes not, more often not necessary.
That is so
Great.
true. I was recording a voiceover for a training yesterday, not yesterday, the day before. And I kept re-recording it because I felt that I was pausing too long in one space. And in the end, I just thought, I'm just recording it and not listening to it this time.
Yes.
I need to move on to the next section.
Nicola,
really
what's
resonates
next for
with
the
me.
data governance coach?
I think I found a bit like Olga. I love the teaching side of it. I love this. I feel like I can make more difference if I train people compared to like in the days when I acted as a data governance lead, because I can get more people doing it. And I really think that there's a lot of problems around the world, and it's not that I think the data can solve everything, but I think that it's important to give people the skills to ensure that data is used to solve problems, to make better informed decisions. Because I think that really, if everybody understood the value of data, we could make a really positive impact. So I think that's why my goals are probably to try and create more training. And I've signed up for an organization called Pledge 1%. You pledge to give 1% of something. I think it always counts as more than 1%, but I give one place on every live training course I give to a charity that perhaps is like too small, wouldn't otherwise pay to send somebody to do it, which I really love doing that. But I think the other thing I'm really focusing on is I really miss doing in-person training. I love that interaction with people, and really I love that engagement. But COVID has made that really difficult. A lot of people don't want to travel. Venues want you to confirm final numbers and pay 3 months in advance. But because of COVID, it's given people this flexibility. People buy tickets the week before. So it's very difficult. My goal is to try work out clever ways. And I'm doing a partnership with a client next week to do an in-person course. So I think it's that trying to find ways that I can make in-person training accessible to the people who do still want it.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. I missed that too. Natalia, how are you finding that? Are you finding a challenge going back after COVID and restarting the in-person events?
No, I think it's actually nice to have a balance.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have both now. So many people missed the physical events, but there are many people actually see the also definitely advantage of having the opportunity of not traveling, of not spending as much money as well for the physical events, but being online. Right. As a matter of fact, we took a little bit of time before we came back to the marathon. So we took a year off because, of course, many people, and we noticed that the clients were like, we want to see each other, we want to shake hands, we want to talk and network, but then another type of community and like a global one were saying, where's marathon, when are you coming back, we need to see more of you, and probably connect to this one. My next goal is to grow my data community, connect more people in data, perhaps do moderation partially at least of marathon myself. So yeah, and hire more women at Think Linkers. Not like we had little, we only have Pio.
Pio's a lucky guy. Yeah, he has an amazing team to work with. Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna have time, but there's a lot of beautiful comments here coming from the audience. Very excited to see you. There have all these comments about, yes, that's so true. Thanks for sharing, very inspiring, and so on. Thank you very much for being here. But more than that, thank you very much for what you're doing for this community. And echoing what Olga was saying and what George was saying, that he took Olga's course, I know that you are actually touching even more lives than you can think or imagine, which is beautiful. And it makes what you do very inspiring, very meaningful, very purposeful. So thank you very much for doing that. And we celebrate you today, but on every other day of the year as well. And it was lovely to see you. Thank you very much.
To you, Diana.
Yes. Thank you for having us on. It's been a wonderful opportunity.
Likewise, it's our honor and pleasure to have had you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Happy weekend, everybody. And happy International